Good morning, friends. Today's reading and video is about 1 Samuel chapter 30. And chapter 30 has a lot going on, and there's a lot of context we need to understand to figure out what is all happening with David and his men and where they've been and where they're going and who they're allied with. So the story is this. A couple chapters earlier, the Philistine commanders, who David has been fighting alongside of while he's in hiding from Saul, start to not trust David. They start to think maybe he's kind of a snake in the grass here and he's getting cozy to us and he's going to turn on us and he's going to go try to impress his master Saul by bringing all our heads to Saul. So the Philistine commanders, even though they're having great success with David by their side, tell David to take a hike. And so David leaves the Philistine army with his men and they go back to Ziklag. Now, why are they in Ziklag? Ziklag is the town that one of the Philistine kings, the king of Gath, has given David to occupy with his men while he's hiding from Saul. So he's still in Philistine territory, but he's not fighting for the Philistine army anymore. And lo and behold, 3 days' journey, he gets back to Ziklag and finds that Ziklag has been ransacked while he was gone. Places burned down. Couple of David's wives have been taken captive. The wives of his men have been taken captive, and it's just devastating. And not only is it devastating and they're scared, but David's men start to turn on him a little bit. They start to talk about stoning him, and David's kind of at his wit's end because he's sort of been ejected from the Philistine army, and his men are starting to turn on him, and his wives are gone, at least a couple of them. So David seeks the Lord. He asks for the ephod and seeks the counsel of the Lord and says, should I pursue these Amalekites who took my wives, or should I leave it be? And the Lord comes back and says, you should pursue them and you will prevail. So he does. So David and 600 men go after these Amalekites. However, before they get there, 200 of the men say, we're too tired. We're just out of gas. We can't go any farther. And stop. And David and the other 400 men continue on, eventually catch up to the Amalekites and just decimate them. They decimate them so badly that what the Bible records about them is they annihilated everybody. The only people who escaped were 400 young men on camels. And if 400 young men escaping on camels is just sort of an afterthought, you know that this has been a bloodbath. So David took care of business, gets his wives back, everybody's restored to where they are. However, there's also spoil that they get from these Amalekites, also, treasures and things that they take from this army that they conquered. And the 400 men say to David, very reasonably if you ask me, hey, we were the ones who came along with you. We should divide the spoil. And David's response, which is kind of surprising, is no, no, no. The victory was the Lord's. He was the one who delivered all this into our hands. He put this Egyptian fired slave out there to tell us where they were hiding. He gave us the instruments, and he did everything. This was his victory. Therefore, the spoil should be split amongst all his people. So not only did the 400 men who actually participated in the conquest split the spoil, but also the 200 men who didn't come because they were too tired got to divide up the spoil. And David sent a lot of that spoil to the elders of other towns that had been friendly to him as he was kind of running from Saul. So you continue to see God's hand on David, kind of making sure he's protected and growing in power and in connection with the Lord. You see God working out his will against God's enemies by the hand of David. And you see, this other storyline that's happening is the decline of Saul as David's on the rise. So that continues, some really cool stuff happening, and you're seeing the character of David and the fact that David, despite God giving him all these victories, is turning it all to the Lord. So that's 1 Samuel 30. Let me know if you have any questions.